Just wanted to share a little idea that came up for Lisa and I a lesson or two ago. When loneliness comes up or indecision comes up, it can be very helpful to have an image of taking the hand of a beloved, someone who has succeeded before you. It could be Jesus, it could be uh, a family member. It could be, if you hold that truth for them, the same truth for them as that you would hold for yourself. It could be Buddha, any figure that can lead the way. It's so helpful to envision this hand reaching out and taking hold of this hand. The Course itself uses the image of a child's hand, the sweet, tender innocence of a child leading us home. It's just so beautiful. So that can be helpful. So to start today's lesson, number 44, you'll begin with your legs up on the wall and your head on the bolster. And wrap your arms around the end of the bolster if that's doable. Slide the hands underneath if possible. Remember, we're just exposing blockages. Lots of students over the years who couldn't get their hands interlocked under the bolster, let alone even just having them in this goalpost shape. So sometimes we start out in the T shape, and with time and practice, it, it starts to open up. The way is through, whether it's in the body or obstacles of mind. Close your eyes and slowly turn your head to the left. Lesson number 44. God is the light in which I see. Today, we are continuing the idea for yesterday, adding another dimension to it. You cannot see in darkness, and you cannot make light. You can make darkness and then think you can see in it, but light reflects life and is therefore an aspect of creation. Remember, God creates, the ego makes, or the ego miscreates. Creation and darkness cannot coexist, but light and life must go together, being but different aspects of creation. In order to see, you must recognize that light is within, not without. You do not see outside yourself, nor is the equipment for seeing outside you. An essential part of this equipment is the light that makes seeing possible. It is with you always, making vision possible in every circumstance. Bring your head back to the center. Slowly turn your head to the right. I'm just going to repeat a couple things from this paragraph. In order to see, you must recognize that light is within, not without. You do not see outside yourself, nor is the equipment for seeing outside you. So in other words, everything for seeing, the means for seeing the light is within. and the whole world thought system is designed to keep pulling us away from our peaceful center, away from the light within. It's like a bug zapper. Bugs are attracted to this bug zapper, which is a false outer light. And we're similar to that. We're attracted to the false outer light, but whenever we get sucked in to the false outer light, we get zapped. We find that it doesn't lead to happiness. It doesn't really work. We may feel temporary states of satisfaction, but it never lasts. Today, we are going to attempt to reach that light. All right. For this purpose, we will use a form of exercise which has been suggested before and which we will utilize increasingly. It is a particularly difficult form for the undisciplined mind and represents a major goal of mind training. It requires precisely what the untrained mind lacks. Yet this training must be accomplished if you are to see. Bring your head back to the center. Gently release your arms to your sides. And bend your knees. Push yourself back. Okay. Now roll onto one side. Push yourself up. Maybe you're in a little suspense right now, right? It kind of keeps us hanging here a little bit. You know, it says we're going to attempt to reach that light within today. But it's particularly difficult form. This exercise is a particularly different form for the undisciplined mind and represents a major goal of mind training. It requires precisely what the untrained mind lacks. All right, we're going to go for it. And now, what I'd like you to do is have a seat on the end of your bolster with your knees bent and your feet on the floor. And then you're going to lie back on the bolster full length. Now, the most important thing is to have your tailbone supported. So your rump is not hanging off the end of the bolster, but it's okay for your head to be a little less supported. Now, if you don't have a bolster yet, then follow along without the bolster. You can do the whole exercise on the floor. Eventually, you may end up with the bolster. You could also pause the video, go wrap a blanket up nice and tight. Something along the length of the spine is quite lovely. Then see if you can potentially interlock the fingers under the head. If that's too much, you know to simply have your arms out to the side in a T shape. Don't push into the pain. So we're going to let the heart space open. We're going to let the throat open. You can even lift the chin a little bit. Everything has to feel safe. And then extend the legs out one at a time, about mat width apart. If having the legs straight brings any unruly sensation into your low back, then simply bend the knees back up. Lift the chin, open the throat. If your body has adapted and your mind and your spine have adapted, you might even test the shape a tiny bit by inching back a little bit, letting the head be supported less. Just test a little bit. You've seen in yoga poses, you've seen in gymnastics, fancy back bends. But being able to simply do a back bend is not as beneficial as being in one sustainably and really letting it work for you. Slowly turn your head to the right. Okay, here we go. It says, have at least 3 practice periods today, each lasting 3 to 5 minutes. A longer time is highly recommended, but only if you find the time slipping by with little or no sense of strain. The form of practice we will use today is the most natural and easy one in the world for the trained mind, just as it seems to be the most unnatural and difficult for the untrained mind. Okay, so it says, you can practice longer. In sentence 2, it says, you can practice longer, and that's recommended highly. But if it becomes straining, if it becomes too difficult, or there's too much mind wandering, then it's time to rest. Just give it a break. We get better at what we practice, so we don't want to practice strain. We don't want to practice conflict. We don't want to practice separation. Paragraph 5, it says, your mind is no longer wholly untrained. You are quite ready to learn the form of exercise we will use today, but you may find that you will encounter strong resistance. Okay. The reason is very simple. While you practice in this way, you leave behind everything you now believe and all the thoughts that you have made up. Properly speaking, this is the release from hell. Yet perceived through the ego's eyes, it is loss of identity and a descent into hell. Bring your head back to the center slowly. See if you can keep the chin up and the throat open as you come to the center. Switch the interlock of your fingers. While you practice in this way, you leave behind everything that you now believe and all the thoughts that you have made up. Properly speaking, this is the release from guilt, the release from fear, the release from hell. Forget everything and join. Nose up, throat open, slowly turn to the left. I'm paraphrasing a line from the text that says, it's in the latter stages of the text. It says, forget this book, forget this course, forget this world. Basically saying, forget everything and come unto your God with wholly empty hands and an open heart. It's a beautiful point in the workbook here where we're just asked to really give it our best shot. If you can stand aside from the ego by ever so little, you will have no difficulty in recognizing that its opposition and its fears are meaningless. You might find it helpful to remind yourself from time to time that to reach light is to escape from darkness, whatever you may believe to the contrary. God is the light in which you see. You are attempting to reach him. is the most real, the most natural, the most fearless thing we can do. Take his hand. Bring your head back to the center. Keep the peace, keep the stillness, keep the connection. Gently release your arms to your sides. And slowly roll onto one side. Carefully onto one side. Pause a moment, curl up a bit. And when you're ready, push yourself up. And find a comfortable seat on your bolster near the wall. Keep it about 3-4 inches from the wall. Soles of the feet together, knees wide. Lean back against the wall. Sit in the back seat a little bit. Find the back edge of your sit bones. Now, for a moment, have your eyes open. A soft gaze. And repeat the idea, God is the light in which I see. Repeat the idea to yourself and then close your eyes slowly and softly. Repeating the idea several more times. Try to sink into your mind, letting go every kind of interference and intrusion by quietly sinking past them. Your mind cannot be stopped in this unless you choose to stop it. It is merely taking its natural course. Try to observe your passing thoughts without involvement and slip quietly by them. Slowly curve forward. Nice and easy. Keep your eyes closed. Observe the shape. Observe the sensation that comes with the slow, thoughtful movement. While no particular approach is advocated for this form of exercise, what is needful is a sense of the importance of what you are doing. Its inestimable value to you, and an awareness that you are attempting to do something very holy. Salvation is your happiest accomplishment. It is also the only one that has any meaning because it is the only one that has any real use to you at all. If resistance rises in any form, pause long enough to repeat today's idea, keeping your eyes closed unless you are aware of fear. God is the light in which I see. If fear comes up, you can open your eyes briefly, Try, however, to return to the exercises with eyes closed as soon as possible. See if you can keep your eyes closed and slowly uncoil, letting today's mantra sink in deeper. I want to get to the source. God is the light in which I see. Resting against the wall, soften into the shape. Relax into your bones. Relax into the heart of God. And then it says, if you are doing the exercises correctly, you should experience some sense of relaxation and even a feeling that you are approaching, if not actually entering, into light. Try to think of light, formless and without limit, as you pass by the thoughts of this world. And do not forget that they cannot hold you to the world unless you give them the power to do so. Nothing can keep me from the light of God without my permission. Bring your hands to your heart. Throughout the day, repeat the idea often, with eyes open or closed. But do not forget, above all, be determined not to forget today. God is the light which I see. Namaste.